And welcome back. We're joined live in the studio now by Councillor Meredith Matthews, who's the incumbent councillor for Arcata City Council. Meredith, welcome to Redwood News.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's a real pleasure to meet you. Now, you've been appointed to the council previously. This is the first time I think you're running for election.
Absolutely.
But what relevant experience have you had and achieved in the last few years that you'll bring to the council if you are re-elected?
Sure. So the steps I feel that brought me up to the point that I felt like I was ready to be on the City Council is I was on the Arcata Economic Development Committee for 3 years. I chaired for 1 year. I was on the Arcata Chamber of Commerce board. I've been just very involved within the community, volunteering, and so I just was so excited to take the next step.
Now, what do you think are the biggest issues facing the citizens of Arcata?
Well, the #1 biggest issue, and it's an issue that we're seeing statewide, is housing. And I think that really touches everything. It touches our houseless population. It touches the climate. It just really touches everything. And so I think that's the single most important thing that's on the ballot this year.
Now, having said that, what will be your top priorities for your constituency if you're elected?
Sure. So definitely housing. I also am a big advocate of safe transportation. I think that one of the first things I did when I got on the council was get the Complete Streets policy passed, which means that every time that we redo our streets, we're going to make them safer for all modalities. That includes bikes, walkers, all modalities, and so I want to continue to build upon that. I'm also really advocating for a really robust public transportation system, which I think is very important.
Now, for anyone who's being elected, what would you say are the top 3 qualities that person needs to bring to the office?
What a great question. I think being a really good listener. You know, I meet and talk to so many people in the last year and a half, and just really hearing people and seeing what's important to them. I think being able to be a leader and to not be afraid to use your voice to speak up to you know, what is important and represents your values, and just being able to really understand, you know, what Arcata is and how to really represent, you know, all the wonderful values that Arcatans have.
Now, part of working as a council member, of course, is working collaboratively with your fellow councillors. So how will you attempt to reach agreement when you don't share the views of your fellow councillors?
Sure. So the women that I've worked with on the council this last year and a half, I really, really respect their views and the work that they put into what they do. And so I think that we collaborate very well, and I think that we're really able to kind of talk it out in public, as if anybody's been watching council meetings can see that we really have robust conversations on the dais and are really able to understand where everybody's coming from and come to a consensus that works out the best for Arcata.
Now, it's a very important role in our community, but there have been other issues with similar offices holders in recent years. How would you avoid falling into any similar negative situation?
I just hold myself to a really high standard. You know, I think you have to be when you're in a public role. I think that people are looking to you and watching what you do. I have children, and it's really important to me to be a role model for them. For my day job, it's also very important for me to just, you know, rise above and kind of be open.
Well, you've touched on that briefly, but if anything, what would you like to share about your personal background and interests that you think voters would help them make up their minds about you?
Sure, that's a great question. So for my day job, I work for Redwood Coast Energy Authority, which is, you know, I'm very proud of that. I think we're on the forefront of climate action, and so I think that's a really valuable skill that I bring to Arcata. I'm a mom. I have 3 boys that are in 7th, 10th, and a 19-year-old. So, you know, they go through the Arcata school system, and I want to make Arcata a safe, wonderful place for them to grow up.
Well, you touched on that briefly, because obviously the pay structure for councillors does make it almost certainly has to be a part-time role. How will you balance everything you need to do? I'm sorry, we're running very quickly on time.
Okay, I have a really great support system. You know, my husband is wonderful. My children are so proud of me and wonderful. And I like keeping busy, and this is very fulfilling, excellent work. So it's a pleasure to do it.
And where can people find out more information? It is on the screen, but just...
Sure. So MeredithForArcata.com. I am a much better council member than I am a website designer. So
Thanks, Meredith. It's great to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
Real pleasure, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.